Your granddad at 50 had more testosterone in his blood than you do at 25. That's not an insult, that's what the numbers say. Men's testosterone has been dropping at about 1% every year for decades, and it keeps dropping whether you go to the gym or not. I found this out the hard way. At 20, I was fighting in a cage, training 5 times per week, and my testosterone came back at 14.4 N/MOL. My doctor looked at it and said it was normal. I was 20 years old and I felt like a 55-year-old man. 2 months after that, I completely changed how I lived and it came back at over 26 N/MOL. So today I'm showing you why this is happening to almost every man alive and why your doctor will keep telling you that you're fine even while you're experiencing this, and what the men who actually pull their numbers back up are doing differently. And there's one thing that happened to fall off a cliff at the exact same rates that our testosterone levels plummeted. It isn't microplastics and it isn't seed oils. Nearly nobody puts the two together. I'll show you what it is later in this video, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. So what does this drop in testosterone every year actually mean? It means men who are the same age, the same weight, living the same life as men 50 years ago are feeling it vastly different. There is what's considered a normal range, and that range has gradually moved down as men continue to get more sick and more unhealthy. Nowadays, the normal range, which I initially fell into, has you feeling like absolute crap and is genuinely unhealthy. Let me give you an example of how this feels. So I would walk around every day feeling like anything that requires effort was a total drag. Getting up in the morning, going to work, the thought of having to do work while at work. I was working construction and people would tell me, you need to do this, you need to do this, and instead of hitting it with enthusiasm or having the energy to do it, I had this internal sense of I don't want to do that. Another thing as well was my physique. I would do a lot of activity, as I mentioned earlier, training throughout the week for MMA, which was 5 to 6 times a week, burning a shitload of calories doing that and doing construction. And my physique was still skinny fat because my body, due to the low testosterone, was not burning fat efficiently. I was losing a lot of muscle mass, my body was holding on to stubborn fat, and that was keeping me in that cycle of having a very estrogenic looking body, feeling like crap about myself and thinking, how the fuck are people getting in shape? Do I need to do more training, more dieting? This sucks. Some other things to note. Sexual performance. I'm going to go into the nitty gritty details of this for your sake, but it wasn't very good. And I'm sure a lot of you watching this can relate to this. Maybe you're in your 30s, maybe you're in your 40s, and your dick is not working. That is not normal. You should not have to use Viagra. You should not be considering TRT. Our ancestors were having kids in their 50s and 60s. There's a reason why as a man, you never go infertile by nature. There is no male menopause. You're meant to be fertile and functional well into your old age. And if it's dropping off in your 20s, 30s and 40s, something's seriously wrong. Now, how does this differ from how I feel now? Well, at 14.4 N/MOL, which is the British measurement of it, I was dealing with all those symptoms. Life felt difficult in every respect. I felt like I didn't even want to speak up when I was in a room. I didn't want to be the center of attention. I had no wittiness about me. I wasn't present ever, whether it was with my girlfriend or with family. I was always just like wrapped up in my own internal kind of struggle, let alone having the motivation to go to the gym and train. That just felt like I was forcing myself. And the thought of starting a diet, God forbid. But at the level I'm at now, it's like the total opposite. And I am not exaggerating in the slightest when I say this. I wake up feeling like Superman every day. My alarm goes off. I get up. I'm excited to do what I'm doing throughout the day. And this isn't just because I'm now running a business and living that life. I had this feeling when I was still working my 9 to 5 job. You appreciate the little things. The sun shining through your window in the morning feels heavenly. The thought of getting after it in the day feels exciting. You see the reward and the benefit of the risk in every action you do. So whether that's what you do at work, whether that's a business move, it doesn't matter. You are now a very high vibrational, highly optimistic person, purely from that chemical change within your body. Now, in terms of the physical things, I started to gain muscle in a way that felt like an accident. Like genuinely, this was my first couple of years of lifting, so it was the kind of new lifter thing, but I would go to the gym and see what felt like weekly progress. I was getting visibly bigger every week, and there is nothing more motivating than that. Not to mention the fat was coming off simultaneously. I wasn't bulking, I wasn't cutting, it was just my body was changing. And that is what happens when your hormones get fixed, because the nutrition goes to where it's supposed to. The nutrients go to gaining muscle, and the energy that is burnt is mostly fat. You don't hold on to the stubborn areas and look like a skinny fat bag of yogurt anymore. Now, in terms of my sex life, in terms of my relationships, all improved massively. Your life starts to feel like it's a bit of a movie. You find yourself saying things, doing things, being witty and in control in a way that you never thought you could, to the point where your woman respects you massively. And the people around you, your friends respect you. You have a level of charisma that speaks past, what you look like and how they perceive you. Because you have physically changed the chemistry in your body and you are basically becoming the man. This is as close to becoming the man as it can get. You can be a gym bro and gain some size, but still have a belly and still look puffy and still feel deflated. You're nowhere near being the man. You just look big. And we all know from seeing plenty of people on the internet, there's guys with muscle who are losers. This is about the way you feel and the way you show up every day. Some other things were like midday crashes. Some of you might get back from work or even while at work, have one of these crashes where you just want to sleep. You don't want to do anything, especially brain fog. Brain fog might rule your day-to-day living. You have to put together a task at work, whether it's a document you got to write up or a meeting, and the words feel jumbled. People are talking, you're not stringing things together, you can't read between the lines, you're not present in anything you do. You just think, I just want to not do anything. And even the thought of trying to enjoy yourself feels difficult, because if you could sit down to watch TV or do something enjoyable, that feels difficult too. Life is very bad, and this is where things get strung into other symptoms, like you've got depression or anxiety. I would guarantee you don't have those things, you just have low testosterone. And when you have the high testosterone, it's quite the opposite. And this is quite scary. But me, at 14, N/MOL, isn't even as bad as how some of you might be. Some of you may be well below 10. I've seen it. And it only continues to get worse from there if you're that low. So I had it bad. Some of you have it really bad. So I can imagine why you've been stuck in a loop of nothing changing. You do need to change your lifestyle. You need to change your diet if you want to get out of that situation. And these are things that our ancestors would not have been dealing with. Your grandfather's generation naturally had those higher levels due to what was going in their body, due to all these other factors which I will cover. So they didn't live like that. There's a reason why men are portrayed as being confident and masculine back in the day, because they blimmin' well were. And men nowadays are sad, depressed, low confidence for this exact reason. People say, oh, well, I wonder what's changed. Maybe it's the social media. Maybe it's this. It's not. It's the testosterone. So this all comes down to what you do in your life, in your day-to-day living. So one quick thing before I get into the causes. If you're sat there knowing your numbers are low and you want it fixed instead of managed, click the first link in my description and apply for my one-to-one coaching. I build out your diet plan, I build out your training plan, I read your bloods and your symptoms and tell you what those things actually mean. And I hold your hand through every step of the way until you get your energy, your drive, and your physique back to how it's supposed to be. That's it. Back to it. So now you're wondering why this is all happening. What is going on in your body? What is going on in the world which is causing this massive drop? Why our grandfather's generation were 10 times more masculine than us? Now this comes down to 3 categories. The first category, food. Yes, it's a big one, but it's probably the most important. See, as time's gone on, fake, ultra-processed food has gradually replaced clean whole food. And even the type of food that you've been told to eat, the stuff that's meant to be healthy, is also being engineered to keep you unhealthy. Sounds really fucked up, but I actually made another video about this, which I'll put at the end of this video. But whatever they taught you in school about the food pyramid, about what you should be eating, is all back to front. See, our ancestors, not only did they not eat the processed slop that is obviously bad, the McDonald's, the crisps, the sweets, all of the mega bad stuff that we know is bad, even some of you guys, they ate a different type of whole food in general. Red meat was vastly more consumed. Beef, goat, venison, lamb. Animals were fed more on grass rather than corn and soy, which meant the quality of meat was a lot better. Now, in terms of nowadays, you can get around this by shopping at a butcher, by predominantly eating red meat and not eating the grain and the soy-fed chicken and pork and turkey, which is highly toxic. But that wasn't the only thing. They ate lots of potatoes and root vegetables. They weren't loading their bodies full of cruciferous greens like broccoli and spinach and kale, stuff that inflames your gut. People ate simple whole foods. Even ice cream was a delicacy that was enjoyed and should still be enjoyed when it's got whole ingredients. And the bread back then was vastly different too. The pasta and bread that people eat now is highly refined. It's like pure sugar in the body, and the gluten content makes it even harder to digest. Back then, flour was whole, the grains hadn't been completely separated, it digested differently, it acted differently in your body, it even contained a significant more amount of protein. I could get into the science of it. Long story short, everything they ate before was clean. Everything we eat now is slop. So how do you get around this? Well, obviously you need to start making better choices. I don't want to hear anyone say, I don't have time to eat good. It's nothing to do with time. It's about the choices you make. Swap out the chicken and rice for red meat and potatoes. Stop eating processed snacks. Start using potatoes and fruit as your main source of carbs. Stop using seed oils. Use butter and fat. These things add up massively. Now, the second thing is training and activity. More so activity than training, and I'll explain why. The rate of people going to the gym has increased massively, especially men. More men go to the gym now than they ever have done. Yet health is worse in every single category, especially testosterone. So this correlation kind of points obviously at the fact that lifting weights doesn't just increase testosterone levels. It clearly highlights a lifestyle issue. But here's the thing, our ancestors moved more, they were more active, they got out in the sun, they were just high movement people in general. Nowadays, people are sat down all the time. Their only exercise is lifting weight, if that, which isn't really exercise, it's muscle building. It doesn't do anything for flexibility, it can shorten you, it can make you inflamed, especially when combined with the wrong diet. So our ancestors were naturally moving more, they were more flexible, they were just more active. Now I know a lot of you work behind a desk, right? I do myself. But little things, standing up, fidgeting, moving, going out for a walk whenever you get time, stretching in the morning, these things add up massively and they don't take a lot of time. They're not a drag. Who doesn't love going for an evening stroll? Who doesn't love stretching their body out and getting it feeling loose? It feels good. And when you pair everything correctly, lifting weights is only a bonus. It will build your physique. It will have benefits, but it isn't the main form of exercise that should be used. I use it, my clients use it, especially when trying to build a physique, but it's not the foundation of health like people try and act like it is. And the third thing is lifestyle. This covers sleep, stress, habits. What do you guys do to unwind? The modern man nowadays watches porn. He stays up till past midnight, loading himself with artificial blue light, mindlessly scrolling on the phone, constant dopamine, watching stuff that's really bad for your energy. You know, modern films now where the man is made out to be completely emasculated and just the general stuff on TV is complete brain rot. Not to mention not getting the sun, not sleeping well, having arguments with the family, with the wife, maybe your kids are doing your head in. But this all stems back to you not being present, not being the man that you could be. These things all contribute to lower testosterone levels. And there are some things that are partly out of your control. Yes, back in the day, our ancestors could have provided for a whole house working a single job at a factory. That doesn't happen anymore. But you can't blame your circumstances. Be proactive and your life will improve. Be a victim and your life will only get worse. So these things matter. Now, I'm not going to say you can't drink and smoke, because our ancestors drank and smoked quite a lot. Now, some of the alcohol might have been a little less processed, and I'm definitely not saying you should be okay with drinking a lot, because you shouldn't. Our ancestors weren't drinking all the time, though. They would have had the occasional drink, the occasional swift half like my granddad did back in the day, and that was that. It wasn't necking down pints, drinking vodka every night. That's very different. But the point is, our ancestors did smoke more and did drink more, and yet they were a lot healthier. So you've just got to bear that in mind and not blame it entirely on that. A lot of people stop drinking, stop smoking, think they fix their entire life, and they're still fat, still have low testosterone, still inflamed, and they're dealing with all the shit that I've listed in this video. So here's the main thing which changed. The main thing which drove this decline was the drop in red meat and saturated fat. The sugar industry even paid off scientists to put the blame on saturated fat at one point to boost their own industry. Yes, that actually happened. Cholesterol and saturated fat are the building blocks of testosterone. If they are not there, then you will have insignificant amounts of testosterone flowing through your body. That has dropped. People are eating more chicken, more turkey, more lean meats because their doctors are telling them to avoid cholesterol. People are being prescribed statins. Everything is anti-cholesterol nowadays. Even the butter you use is full of rapeseed oil, and you may have even been using margarine. Everything you're told to eat is wrong. Like I said earlier, the mainstream guidelines are designed and geared towards low testosterone. And one more thing I want to say, carbs get demonized when they shouldn't. Even some mainstream forms like the carnivore diet and the keto diet, which a load of people, including several clients that I've worked with, have tried, demonizes carbs to the point where it's actually bad for you. Carbs signal abundance to your body. The right carbs. Potatoes, fruit, honey, maple syrup, even ice cream. Our ancestors had carbs during times of abundance. We now have carbs as access to us. It doesn't mean we need to copy our ancestors and never have carbs because they didn't. If they had carbs, they would have eaten them. What it does is it signals abundance, which upregulates everything. Thyroid, DHT, testosterone production. These are all the hormones which basically put you towards that higher range of testosterone and get you feeling really good. So don't cut out carbs. Now, how does this tie into the medical system? They are lying to you about pharmaceuticals. They want you dependent on pharmaceuticals. Your doctor is not trained to give you dietary advice. He's designed to push you towards medication. He will tell you avoid eggs, avoid cholesterol because that is bad, but he doesn't know why. He's just being trained to say that. And he will prescribe you meds, he will tell you to take your vaccines, and you will be not only contributing to this cycle of the pharmaceutical industry blowing up, but also to the demise of your own health. I went to the doctor at 20. I did 3 therapy sessions during a time of extreme anxiety, thinking I had some sort of mental health issue. All of them led me down a rabbit hole which would have potentially made my life much worse. And I thank God that I did not go down that rabbit hole and I am where I am now. TRT is a decision to stop taking control of your own life. You are effectively handing yourself over to these industries. You are hoping that it doesn't have long-term side effects. I know all the guys who take TRT get defensive about this and say, well, there's no side effects, it's not proven, blah, 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 because they know deep down there is a chance there are side effects. It will stop you having kids. It will shrink your balls. It will cost you a lot of money for the rest of your life because you will need to get your bloods done. You will need to keep paying for it. And it's all because you didn't make the change to your lifestyle. So I get why people get defensive, but it doesn't change the facts. The alternative to that is fixing your inputs, fixing your habits, and changing your life so that you don't become part of this 99% who are struggling. So what do the men who reverse it do differently from what most men do? Which unfortunately might even be some of you watching this. It all comes down to one thing. Structure and clarity beats information. Yes, you have been given information in this video. You can go on ChatGPT and my Instagram and Google information. But information doesn't change your inputs. It only gives you a wider range of knowledge which you may or may not use. And when that knowledge is conflicting with other knowledge that you're taught elsewhere, it can lead to confusion. And I see time and time again, men have this attitude of, I'll do it myself, and nothing changes. Because you're still in your comfort zone, you still haven't got any structure, you haven't got any clarity, and you just repeat that loop over and over again. The men who reversed it, they locked in. They got structure. They got clarity. They understood what exactly needed to change, how it would fit into their life. They saw the pathway, all they had to do was walk. When that happens and you want the outcome, you are guaranteed to get the result. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. Tragic event, circumstances change, new job, it's irrelevant. The habits and the desire to change and the clarity of those two together takes you to the outcome that you want. What keeps you stuck forever? Not having either of those things. Thinking, I just want to be healthy. That does nothing for anyone. I went from 14.4 to 26 testosterone by training half as much, by doing a lot less, but I had the structure and clarity to take me there. My client Daniel went from the carnivore diet, trying extremely hard to get lean and fix his testosterone, and instead got some clarity and structure and completely transformed his physique within 3 months. My client Tyler spent years working hard, not going to the gym, not knowing what he was doing, and within 6 months, he completely changed the course of his life, lost a lot of weight, and became the man that he wanted to be. And he's still improving now because he has the habits. So everything I've explained here is the reason why your testosterone is lower than your granddad's was, and why the men who fixed it are the ones who stopped waiting for permission from their doctor. Now you've got 3 ways to go about this. The first, you do nothing. You've watched the video, you close it, you go back to your day-to-day life. Tomorrow looks like today. And the next year looks like this year, but probably 10% worse. That's the decision that every man is on right now, and it's their default setting. The second option is you take what I've given you and you try and work it out yourself. Some men will. It took me many years to do myself. 5 cage fights, 3 failed diets, a lot of suffering, and eventually I got there. So give yourself the time, and if you have the grit, if you are as determined as I was, you may get there in time. Now the third option is you click the link in my description and apply for my coaching. I build your diet plan around food that you actually should be eating and that you will learn to love. I build your training plan. I read your bloods and I tell you what they mean. And I walk you through every single step so you are never guessing. So you wake up with energy, look like a man who trains, and stop feeling like a passenger in your own life. And if you want to see the exact food I eat every day to hold my numbers high and feel amazing, click this video here. It's your call. Apply now and I'll see you there.